everyone, JBird here. Today I'm going to take you guys with me outside to my garden so you guys can do some gardening with me. Let's go! So here is my garden. First I'll show you guys around a little bit. I have a few different types of plants here. So first we have hibiscus flowers. So we have pink, yellow, and then we also have some orangey red ones back there. These flowers actually don't last very long once they bloom. So as you can see, this yellow one here is bloomed and it's really, really pretty. But unfortunately, these flowers don't last very long once they bloom. They normally only look like this for about a day or two, and then they turn like that one right here. I also have some little creatures who like to come in my garden, and they actually, you can see in this flower here, they like to eat the flowers. So I've actually caught chipmunks and rabbits eating these flowers. Over here we have some vegetables that I started growing. This first row here is tomato plants. So I actually started all of these off with just little seeds, and I planted them in this little planter. And you can see now that they've grown, some of them have grown pretty big actually. So here we have tomatoes, basil, peppers, and back there are my cucumbers. So they're actually looking a little sad just because the weather has been so hot and it hasn't been that rainy. So I try and water them 2 or 3 times a day actually, just because of how hot the weather has been outside. And then over there is actually a peppermint plant. So those are all little tiny mint leaves. And this actually I started growing, it was really, really tiny. And when I planted it, it started to grow. So peppermint is a really good plant to have in a garden because it's kind of like a weed. So once you plant it, it's not hard to keep it alive, and it will actually grow back every single year. So I like to use those to make teas. I mix mint into some of my water just to give it a little extra taste. Yeah, it's good to add into foods. And I even sometimes, when I have a stomach ache, like to just chew the mint leaves by themselves, and it actually helps with stomach aches. So today I actually have a very important task of transplanting these vegetables into the actual garden. So right now they're in this little planter, and today, with your guys' help, I'm going to plant them into the garden. So just to show you guys quickly some tools that I use while gardening, I always use a little shovel, that way I don't get my hands too dirty. Also, because I'm going to be transplanting the plants into the garden, I also have some mesh here, and I'll show you guys in a little bit what this mesh will be used for. So the first thing I'm going to be transplanting are these little cucumbers right here. Now I'm going to need both hands for this, so I'm going to set you guys up and do a little voiceover to let you know what I'm doing. So first, I'm just going to dig a little hole into the soil where I want to place the cucumbers. I want to make sure that it's not too deep that the stems of the cucumber will get buried in the soil, but that it's deep enough so that the transplanted plant will sit nicely above the soil. I'm also planting the cucumbers underneath this little cage here. This is because cucumbers will grow upwards towards the sky, and they're going to need something for the vines to grow on. So after loosening the soil a little bit, I'll start to peel back the plastic planter away from the soil. And what's really cool about this is how amazing the roots are. It's so cool to see just how many roots a little plant has and how long they are. Next, I'm just going to place the plant in that little hole that I dug before. And then I'm going to carefully shovel the soil back around the plants, being careful not to hit or break the stems at all, just slowly shoveling it back around the plants and then packing the soil down. Once I replant the plants, I'm just going to water them. I like to use this little spray bottle, and I find that the biggest trick to gardening is to always make sure that your soil is a little bit wet. Next, this is where that mesh that I showed you earlier comes into play. Remember when I told you about the creatures that have been eating my plants? Well, this mesh will keep them away. So now that the cucumbers are transplanted, I'm going to be transplanting the basil into this pot here. So I just filled this pot with soil, and I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the cucumbers with the basil. And this is the finished product of the tomatoes. And this is the finished product of the basil and pepper. I hope you guys enjoyed gardening with me today. I'll see you guys next week. Bye!